If you were listening a couple of weeks ago, you will remember I played a song called We Won't Stop Delilah by Glenn Lane, and I explained very briefly that it was a rewrite of the lyrics. The lady who rewrote the lyrics is Sylvan. She's going to join us for a little chat. Right after I've reminded you of what that song was all about, because there was a threat to ban it, and so they decided, along with Les Reed, who wrote the music, that Sylvan and Les would get together. I think it was mainly Sylvan who wrote the lyrics, but we'll find out. So that the rugby fans and the football fans could all keep singing the song if it was banned. This is how it turned out. And the reworking We Won't Stop Delilah, and the lady who wrote the new words is Sylvan, who joins us on the phone. Welcome to the Vinyl Frontier, Sylvan.
Oh, Mike, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. Now, I explained to the listeners very, very briefly a couple of weeks ago, and again just now, how the rewrite came about, but perhaps you could go into it in more detail. It came about because there was a threat that the original song Delilah was going to be banned.
That's right, yes. Delilah, you may know, has been the sort of national anthem of the Welsh rugby team for about 16 years now. Also Stoke City Football Club.
All right.
And they play it before every game. A Labour MP called Chris Bryant had, I think it's been given up now, but a year ago, had called for it to be banned on the grounds that it incited violence towards women. You know, I think that's ridiculous personally, because I think it's far more likely to be the beer that's consumed after the game. You know, the team lost, and they're late home. You know, I really don't think one song is going to make that much.
You wouldn't have thought so, no. And it was Les Reed who wrote the music who actually suggested the idea, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yes. Yes, Les Reed wrote the music, and my ex-husband, Barry Mason, and I wrote the original words together. So this thing was going on in the papers, and Les said to me, why don't we write another Delilah? Why don't you write a fresh lyric? And so I did, and I wrote this lyric called We Won't Stop Delilah, which was, just in case it did get banned, was a sort of protest song for the fans to sing instead.
Brilliant. I love the line about pigs are more likely to fly. That's brilliant.
Yes. He thought that was too strong, but I said, no, I love that bit.
Yeah, I think that's the line that's caught everybody's imagination.
Yes, it's the defiance, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So that was how it came about. Of course, the song hasn't been banned, and that all went away. There's a lot of publicity about it. I daren't send it to Ask Tom, so I found Glenn Leon.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, everybody I've played this to says that must be Tom Jones, but it's not.
Glenn Leon is absolutely fantastic.
He is, yeah.
He is the finest tribute act to Tom Jones. He has his own show, but he also fronts the Amen Corner.
Oh, right, of course. Oh, right, is that the tribute band, the Amen Corner?
Well, I think there's a couple of original members in it. Fairweather Low, obviously, isn't.
Oh, yeah.
Glenn takes his place, but there are a couple of original members, so they call themselves the New Amen Corner.
Right.
They're a wonderful act, too. They're on tour most of the time.
And most people have probably forgotten they're Welsh as well.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Anyway, there's a little bit of controversy there with We Won't Stop Delilah, but your single in 1965, We Don't Belong, was a little bit controversial as well. Please explain.
Well, in 1965, you're probably too young to remember this.
I'm afraid not. No, I remember it well.
Oh, really? Well, you remember the Pirates had come along in 64.
Very much so.
We were all rebelling. Our generation was rebelling against everything. We were all making love, not war. Anything you could do that was upset the establishment was cool. In the case of Radio Caroline, you know, they set up 8 miles out of Spain to broadcast 24 hours a day pop music, which was wonderful. We'd had none of that before, except for Radio Luxembourg. So the way to get a hit, I'm afraid, in those days, was to get a record banned by the BBC. Because if you got a record banned by the BBC, who never played them anyway, the Pirates would take it up and play them to death, and you'd have a hit. So that was the plan. And we set out to have a record banned by the BBC. And we wrote We Don't Belong, which was a sort of Romeo and Juliet theme about two young lovers who were going to do away with themselves because their parents wouldn't let them be together. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's a sign of the times, I suppose.
Yes, it was actually. Come to think of it, it was.
And I suspect that a lot of people haven't heard the song, Sylvan, so let's play it now.
Right to hold your hand. Goodbye to them that say
Sylvan and We Don't Belong, which they were trying to get banned in 1965. Continue the story, please, Sylvan. Now everybody's heard the record.
Yes. So the record comes out. It's got a lot of attention. I was asked to go on Thank Your Lucky Stars. I also went up to Scene at 6:30 for Johnny Hamp, which was... Johnny Hamp started everything up in Granada. Mm-hmm. Everything was going very, very well. The BBC banned it. Hooray.
So everything's going according to plan?
Everything was going according to plan. The Pirates started playing it to death. But unfortunately, that week, everybody had jumped on the same bandwagon. And there were other records banned that week. One of them was Eve of Destruction by Barry Maguire, about nuclear bombs dropping. The other was Twinkle's Terry. And there was a couple of others. And so these all hit the papers and the headlines. But unfortunately, I wasn't as well known as the others, so it wasn't such big news.
You sort of got lost in the rush, in other words.
I got lost in the rush to be banned. We didn't get the publicity we wanted. And then the record company stopped producing it, and it died a death. But in the meantime, of course, I had been out to Radio Caroline to promote it. And they played it for as long as they could, but nobody could buy it.
But you tried another ploy at Caroline to see if you could get your own exposure without everybody else jumping on the bandwagon, didn't you?
Yes. Yes, I did. We used to go out to Radio Caroline too. It was very, very exciting. I mean, the Pirates in those days were like the Beatles. They were superstars. And so we used to go out on the tender from Harwich. It was quite a hairy journey in a little tender. It took about an hour out to the ship to be interviewed, given lunch, and then have the record played and talk about it, and then go home. And my manager said to me, Sylvan, don't go and do your interview, but don't come home. We'll get some publicity out of this. And that's what I did. I went and had my lunch, interviewed by Roger Gale, said hello to Tony Blackburn, and then when the tender, which had been across to Radio London for lunch, came back, I locked myself in the loo and told them I was too frightened to come out. And they were getting worried about the weather. But I was also staying with daughter, which I didn't tell them. And I laid it on thick. The tender hooted about 12 times. And they were banging on the door. And in the end, it gave up and set off back to Harwich because it was worried about the weather.
This was a Saturday, wasn't it? So they weren't coming out on the Sundays. You were there until the Monday.
No, that's right. We did get some headlines.
Imagine it would, yes. Will we draw a veil over the rest of the weekend?
You don't need to. It was very innocent.
Don't tell me they were all perfect gentlemen.
Well, I'm not sure they were perfect gentlemen, but I found that 4 of them would escort me to my cabin.
Brilliant. And you have the distinction, I think I'm right in saying, I mean, the only, in inverted commas, stowaway on pirate radio. Yes.
Tony Blackburn gets it wrong. He's mixed me up with Twinkle.
You're telling me also that there's a little bit of a story around a huge #1 hit that we all know, Love Grows by Edison Lighthouse.
In the days when I was married to my ex-husband Barry Mason, we lived in North London, very near Tony McCauley, who wrote the music, and we wrote a lot of songs together with him. One afternoon he came round to write, and I was in bed with a really bad case of flu, and Tony came round to write, and I said, I'm really not up to it, but they both insisted that I help them, and Tony had an idea for a song. He had the melody for it. The idea for the song was called It's Your Heart I'll Be Breaking Apart. It's My Heart You'll Be Breaking Apart. The original title. But he wanted a song about a woman, a girl. In fact, he came up with Rosemary because they seemed to sell very well in those days, songs about women. So he came up with Rosemary. I came up with the sort of herb idea and growing in gardens and all that. And we wrote this song. It took about 2 hours. I probably wrote more of the lyrics than Barry did on that one. And it was written within 2 hours, and we knew we had a hit.
Can I stop you for a minute, Sylvan? You said you knew you had a hit. How do you know you've got a hit? What are the clues?
Have you ever done that on the radio, heard a song and thought, that's a hit?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then later on, you suddenly find everyone thinks the same, and it is.
But when you're listening to it on the radio, you're listening to the finished product. You're listening. You're playing it on a guitar. It's just a draft, really. But you still.
I know, but it had everything. That song. It had everything.
Yeah.
It had the really complete tune, lovely bouncy tune, middle eight. It had, and the lyrics were good. We knew that, and it had the idea. It was fresh. I don't know. We just knew it was the best of the bunch. We wrote 3 that afternoon. There was another one called that one was complete that afternoon. Other songs are usually ongoing, you know.
Yeah.
You don't do them all in one day. Tony went off and recorded it with session musicians of Tony Burrows, the wonderful Tony Burrows.
He was a guest on our show just last year.
Oh, he's a lovely man.
Fantastic, yes.
He recorded it with session musicians in the session studio. Well, the next thing we knew, it was in the charts, and Top of the Pops wanted it the next week.
And of course you had no band.
We had no band. We couldn't send these sort of dodgy old sessions to us, but the others are all sort of, you know, scruffy musicians, middle-aged, you know, so we couldn't send them out, so we had to find a band, and we interviewed 100 different bands. It just so happened I was going around the BBC plugging something else, I can't remember what, but I ran into this chap, I still can't remember his name, John someone. I told him what we were doing. He said, I've got a band called Greenfields.
Right.
I said, well, send them along, you know, they might have a chance. And sure enough, they were the ones that got it. So a week from the audition, this unknown band was suddenly on Top of the Pops with a hit. You can still see it on YouTube. If you look at it, the first Top of the Pops clip of Love Grows, you'll see the excitement in their faces.
Let's remind ourselves of that great #1 record again. And Love Grows, lead vocals from Tony Burrows, and an unknown band called Greenfields playing doing the backing. My guest on the Vinyl Frontier tonight is the wonderful Sylvan with a fund of stories to tell us. Thanks very much for joining us, Sylvan. We're going to play a record by a group called the Washington DCs next. Now, very few people, I think, will know who the Washington DCs are. Tell us a little bit about them, this song, and why we're going to play it.
Well, I'm delighted you're playing this song, actually, Mike, because it was the very first song I ever had recorded as a writer. I wrote it with a man called Mike Bradley. Mike Bradley always claims that he was the man who discovered Tom Jones. And Mike was on some kind of retainer from Gordon, he said, for that discovery.
Wow, you seem to have strong connections with Wales here.
I do, don't I?
Meanwhile, back to the Washington DCs.
Yes, so Mike and I wrote this song called 32nd Floor. It's all different now, but you had to get your song with a publisher who would promote it to someone. So we were in Stuart Reid's Chapel Music. Stuart introduces us to the Washington DCs are looking for a record, so they like our record, so they record it. I became very good friends with them. The keyboard player is a wonderful keyboard opening to it by Gary Illingworth. He went on to work with the Fifth Dimension and all sorts of people as a keyboard player and writer and producer, arranger, so on. But anyway, he was starting out as a newbie, and this was their first recording. It did terribly well. The Pirates played it and loved it, but somehow it didn't...
Let's listen now to the Washington DCs and 32nd Floor.
Hanging around this crowded street, nothing to do but watching the feet and hoping someday maybe we will meet. Hanging around a crowded street, my baby's up on the 32nd floor. There is a girl that I adore, up on the 32nd floor. She is the one I'm waiting for.
That's only two. That's my first.
Way on the other side of town, I sit and watch the rain come down and think of all the troubles I have found. Way on the other side of town, and I can see the 32nd floor. There's the girl that I adore, up on the 32nd floor. She is the one I'm waiting for. She doesn't know, she doesn't care. I'm everywhere I go. I seem to see her there. Up on the 32nd floor. There is the girl that I adore. Up on the 32nd floor. She is the one I'm waiting for. In my lonely room I found, trying to get her off my mind, but it's no use. I know I'm not her kind. Wish I could leave this room that I'm up on the 32nd floor. There's the girl that I adore, up on the 32nd floor. Loving the girl I'm waiting for.
The Washington DCs and the first song that Sylvan, my guest in the Vinyl Frontier, ever wrote, 32nd Floor. Good one. And you're still recording, I understand.
I'm still recording, can you believe it? I left the music business when my marriage to Barry broke up. I left the music business and I went into photography. I had a young daughter to look after. I didn't want to work at anything that would take me away from her, so the idea was to do children's photography to begin with. But of course, with my links to the music business, I ended up back as a music business photographer.
So what on earth got you back into the music business? Was it just the fact you were still in contact with people?
Well, I've never lost contact with people because of being a photographer at ASCAP Awards, and I used to do Ivor Novello Awards and all. So I've kept in touch with all the music business people. But I didn't do any more singing. I didn't do any more singing or writing. Also, I was aware of how difficult it is. It's almost impossible to have a hit. You know, we must have written about 200 to 300 songs You have to get one hit. You can't rely on it as a living. You have a period when you're hot too.
Yeah.
And that has passed. I don't know. It has passed. Our time has passed.
Mm-hmm. And yet now you're going back into the studio and you're starting to record again.
Yes. Well, what happened was I retired.
Yeah.
I retired about 2 or 3 years ago. I had a couple of main jobs I'd had for 37 years let me go in the last recession, which was upsetting. And I went into a sort of huge slump of crisis of identity. What am I going to do now? And then I came out of it, and life has never been better. I went on holiday to Greece last summer with a group in a workshop where I met Ben Briley. And Ben had a similar story to me in that he had once been in the Vibrators and also married to Marianne Faithfull. And he'd had a bumpy ride and had left the music business. And he'd been a bookseller for the last 40 years, fine art books. But he wanted to get back into music, so we had a little jam session out there in Greece. And then we wrote a song that I hope you're going to play soon, called There's an Ache in My Heart.
What a great way of bringing things to a close by bringing us right up to date. We will play There's an Ache in My Heart right now. But before we do, Sylvan, can I say thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure, and there's so much more I think we've got to talk about. When you come back and talk to us again in 3 or 4 months' time?
I've absolutely loved you, Mike. I've enjoyed talking to you very much indeed. Thank you so much for having me.
Sylvan, it's been a pleasure, and we're going to go out with Sylvan and Ben, and There's an Ache in My Heart.
There's an ache in my heart that won't go away. Wherever I am, whatever I say, wherever I go, whatever I do, there's an ache in my heart, 'cause I'm losing you. I'm looking at life and wondering why I'm feeling such pain and wanting to die. I have everything I need to get by, but there's an ache in my heart and a tear in my eye. I was free as a bird and humming a song, when out of the blue you just wandered along. Well, maybe I'm crazy, but I couldn't tell. You promised me heaven and took me to hell. There's an ache in my heart that's hurting so bad. I think it's the worst thing that I've ever had. I'm sad and I'm lonely and bluer than blue. There's an ache in my heart, 'cause I'm losing you. I was free as a bird and humming a song, when out of the blue you just wandered along. Well, maybe I'm crazy, but I couldn't tell. You promised me heaven and took me to hell. There's an ache in my heart that won't go away. Wherever I am, whatever I say, wherever I go, whatever I do, there's an ache in my heart, 'cause I'm losing you.
Isn't that a gorgeous little song, and so simple as well? A big thank you to Sylvan for guesting on the show tonight. As I say, we must get back in touch with her in a few months' time and get some more stories. A valuable insight into the music business, particularly in the 1960s. And hopefully you enjoyed that, and the music as well. Don't forget, next week we're doing a competition, a chance to win 2 tickets to see Matt Monroe Jr. singing with his dad and talking about the family and singing all the songs that Matt used to sing. He's going to be in the City Hall in Glasgow on Sunday the 5th of March, and we've got 2 tickets to go away. We'll do it next Sunday. In the meantime, thanks once again to Sylvan. Until we meet again, my dear.